This right here, 6 great nicknames of NBA defenders. Coming at ya! The Russian Assassin.
I just made that up.
The dude was a defensive force for the Jazz and rejected shots with recklessness. He killed shots down low, leading the NBA in blocks in 2005 and was named to the NBA All-Defensive Team in 2006. The AK-47, the Automat Kalashnikova, or Kalashnikov's automatic rifle. AK was an easy fit for Andrei Kirilenko, having the initials AK. The AK was first manufactured in Izhevsk, Soviet Union, the birthplace of Kirilenko. When Kirilenko joined the Utah Jazz in 2001, he requested the number 47 and the circle was complete. If you didn't take notice, the guy went through more hair transformations than Brad Pitt, Ivan Drago, Boy Band, He-Man, High and Tight, and Bratva. The dude even got a one-night hall pass from his wife each year. In 05 and 06, AK-47 averaged 3.3 and 3.2 blocks per game. He achieved a 5x5 3 times in his career. That is at least 5 in 5 stat categories. He even achieved a 5x6, at least 6 in 5 categories. The only player to ever do that in regulation time. Andrei finished with 1,461 blocks and 1,097 steals in 13 NBA seasons. During Andrei's time in the NBA, he was the face of Russian basketball on the court. Since 2015, Kirilenko has been the commissioner of the Russian Basketball Federation.
I must break you.
I must break you.
I am really disappointed in sports writers and marketing companies for not giving Rodman a better nickname. The Worm? Seriously? That is weak, as in my dad trying to make a joke weak. Note to the man in the wheelchair that stole my camouflage jacket. You can hide, but you can't run. Ha ha ha, Dad. There was also Dennis the Menace. You can bet your sorry ass that Rodman was a menace to opposing teams. I think he may be the most intuitive rebounder to ever play NBA ball. He had an amazing foreknowledge of where a shot would bounce off and then position himself in the best place to grab the board. Rodman led the NBA in rebounds for 7 consecutive seasons. I've never seen another player as good as the Worm at cleaning glass. Rodman was on 5 NBA championship teams, was a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, and finished with nearly 12,000 rebounds for 23rd all time. Now, where did this weird Worm nickname originate? The best I could find was that the nickname was allegedly started by Rodman's mother. Oops, sorry for making fun of that, Mom.
I'm not sorry. He's not sorry. We're not sorry. Don't be sorry.
I'm not sorry.
Dennis would wriggle around like a little worm when he played pinball as a kid. Pinball machines were popular in the 70s, and The Who sang Pinball Wizard in 1979 when Dennis was 18 years old. He's a pinball wizard. The Worm alias was probably used more than any other. But remember Rodzilla? Now that is a sweet moniker and one more fitting for Rodman. He dominated the paint like a monster and left no prisoners. Rodzilla was the name used when Dennis wrestled in the WWE from 97 to 99 alongside Hollywood Hogan against the Mailman Malone and Diamond Dallas Page. The on-court Superman punch on Malone just wasn't enough for Rodzilla. Those were some good old days.
Messed around and got a triple-double. Freaking brothers every way like MJ. I can't believe today was a good day.
Whoa. Hold on just a minute.
Hold it now.
The Worm and Rodzilla, both nicknames hearken to slithery, slimy creatures. I just thought of that. Possibly coincidence? Rodman has been wriggling his way into numerous reality shows since his NBA days and continues to be Dennis the Menace each and every time. For Muggsy Bogues' whole career, I didn't know that he had a nickname. What nickname would you give somebody that was already named Muggsy? That's what I figured, and then oh shiz! I was blown away when one day I discovered that Bogues' name was Tyrone. The world was a lie!
Fool me once. Shame on you.
Then I found out how Muggsy got his iconic nickname, the nickname that made him one of the most lovable characters in the 90s NBA. You take the shortest person to ever play NBA ball and give him a nickname story that is effing awesome. The name Muggsy began when Tyrone was 7 years old on the courts of the projects of Baltimore. Tyrone was always the smallest guy on the court. Of course he was. He was only 5'3" when he played in the NBA. The other kids grew. Tyrone continued to get shorter. He used the size difference as motivation to play harder and faster to prove everyone wrong. Tyrone pressured the shiziz out of everyone. No one could relax around little Tyrone Bogues on the court, here and there and everywhere, and you didn't see him coming. The older kids on the playground had watched some movies from the 1940s about a group of delinquents called the East Side Kids. The kids had a crew and concocted plans to make money and cause mischief. The East Side Kids leader was Muggs McGinnis. Muggs was smaller than the other boys, and he was a jokester just like Tyrone. One of Tyrone's crew told him that he was like Muggs from the East Side Show. The crew member joked that Tyrone mugs everybody, steals the ball, hangs with his boys, and leads the gang. Tyrone became Muggsy. Tyrone was loud and boisterous and led the b-ball gang. Tyrone hated the nickname. He thought the nickname was joking about his mug, saying, "Tyrone, you're not an especially attractive little guy." Muggsy felt like somebody was talking about his looks, and he wasn't down with all that. Tyrone had never seen the East Side Kids. He had no idea who this Muggs jokester was. And after finally watching the show, it all made sense to Tyrone, and he liked the character and the nickname. Muggsy stuck with him, and he had NBA teammates that never knew Muggsy was a nickname. Larry Johnson somehow knew Muggsy's real name and used that name. I'm sure other players were very confused about Larry Johnson's memory every time he called him Tyrone. Muggsy became a thing of pride for him. The name came from the inner city courts, right where the best nicknames come from and stick with you. The name grew with him over his career and is still one of the best and most unique nicknames in sports. Muggsy just rolls off the tongue so smoothly. Bogues finished his career with 1,369 steals and over 6,700 assists, knowing he played on one of the most popular NBA teams of the 90s. How could you not love a team with Grandmama, Zoe, and a dude named Muggsy? Chris Andersen took the nickname Birdman and drove it like he stole it. With the nickname, he created an alter ego, even tattooing bird wings on the insides of both arms to help him transform into Birdman. And the tattoos were not just any bird either, they were the wings of a phoenix. Besides being one of the oddest players in the NBA, Andersen was the first NBA Development League player to be called up to the NBA, signing with the Denver Nuggets in 2001. Birdman played in the Rocky Mountain Review the next summer in 2002. The review, hosted by the Utah Jazz in Salt Lake City, featured young, unsigned players to showcase their game. During his summer league time, teammates Junior Harrington and Kenny Satterfield dubbed Andersen Birdman for his long arm span of 84 inches and his ability to move around mid-air to disrupt shots. What do you do when you contribute to the darkest night in NBA history and later get arrested for domestic violence? Well, you change your name to avoid your creditors, because you should probably be out of a job now. Ron Artest legally changed his name to Metta World Peace in 2011.
I'm an advocate of world peace.
The change came 7 years after the Malice at the Palace and 4 years after the domestic violence arrest. Ron Artest created drama and conflict even before the 2004 Detroit fight. During his rookie season in Chicago, he was criticized for applying for a job at Circuit City in order to get an employee discount. In a December 2009 Sporting News interview, Artest admitted that as a young player, he drank Hennessy cognac in the locker room at halftime while with the Bulls. And in February 2004, he wore a bathrobe over his practice uniform to a Pacers practice as a symbolic reminder to take it easy. And you thought AIs were talking about practice. Incident was shocking. Artest was suspended for 3 games in 2003 for destroying a TV camera at Madison Square Garden, and 4 games the same year for a confrontation with Miami Heat coach Pat Riley. He was also suspended for 2 games early in the 2004-05 season by Pacers head coach Rick Carlisle after he allegedly asked for a month off because he was tired from promoting an R&B album for the group Allure on his True Warrior production label. Oh gosh, dude.
Idiot.
Malice at the Palace. Oh, you know what I'm talking about.
You'll see.
The Pacer-Piston melee in the Palace at Auburn Hills in 2004. Piston center Ben Wallace was fouled hard by Artest. Big Ben retaliated and hit Artest in the throat. The benches cleared, starting a full-out brawl. Artest pulled himself out of the fight, laying on the scorer's table. A Piston fan threw a full cup down on Artest. Artest went into the stands and attacked a fan. Steven Jackson followed and attacked a fan as well. The game was stopped and the Pacers were escorted to the locker room. Artest ultimately missed 86 games, the longest suspension for an on-court incident in NBA history. Artest lost approximately $5 million in salary due to the suspension. Then, on March 5th, 2007, Artest was arrested for domestic violence and released from the Sacramento Kings indefinitely by GM Jeff Petrie. By 2011, Ron Artest had enough of his violent ways and decided to officially change his name to something sublime. Metta World Peace. Metta said, "Changing my name was meant to inspire and bring youth together all around the world." World Peace chose Metta as his first name because it is a traditional Buddhist word that means loving kindness and friendliness towards all. That is so sweet.
I don't know what got into me. I don't know why I changed my name.
I'm taking a wild guess that the Zen master Phil Jackson inspired Ron Artest in his name change during Metta's time with the Lakers and Jackson. Let's just all remember now that Metta wants to spread world peace, just like Miss America.
World peace.
The glove. I'm talking about Gary Dwayne Payton from Oakland, California. Although Orenthal James Simpson was from the Bay Area also. Haha, OJ was not known as the glove. He just had a bloody glove. Gary Payton played for the Seattle Supersonics in another Bay Area, the Puget Sound. Over his career, the glove snatched away 2,445 steals for 4th all-time and 8,966 assists, dished out for 8th all-time. He had nearly 22,000 points, an NBA championship with the Heat, and 9-time All-Defensive Team. Payton earned his nickname early on in his career, but his stats show that Payton lived up to the alias. The glove was a tribute to Payton's defensive prowess. Payton's cuz, like his real cuz, began blabbing to everyone during the 93 Western Conference Finals between Seattle and Phoenix that Gary was holding Kevin Johnson like a baseball in a glove. I assume cuz was referring to Payton's in-your-face defense. Phoenix won the series 4-3 and ultimately lost in the finals to some team with a big goofy white guy at center. How did Payton develop his baseball in a glove defense? Cuz? Gary remembers his father, Al Payton, instilling toughness in him at a young age. Mr. Al was affectionately known as Mr. Mean. Now, why didn't my dad get that moniker? The Oakland playgrounds were a furnace for Payton and others. Payton was always worried about the guys in Oakland punking him and beating him up on the court. He walked around with a chip on his shoulder, always trying to prove himself. The glove moved up the coast to Oregon State. His coach drilled defensive slides into his players. The coach saw that Gary had very quick hands and drilled him even more. Gary found that playing hard defense was just as huge a factor in a game as scoring. Not only was the glove one of the best defenders in NBA history, he was possibly the biggest trash talker, simply because he knew he could back it up. There you have great nicknames of 6 NBA defenders. Comment below for other great defender nicknames that you may think of, and subscribe. Do it, and let's keep this going.